Hey and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my top 10 for Netflix's originals or bought licenses series for the K-dramas that have been very popular over the last few years on Netflix, particularly. Ranking them from 10 to 1 changed a lot of the time. For the last few days, I've been going over them. My mind and my ranking for each one has been going in and out on which one is in the list. So let me know in the comments down below, which ones do you think, once you've watched this, should be in the list. I have my feelings, my initial reactions, and your thoughts on them change over time. There are probably still a few that are more fresh. I've included Hellbound because I've seen it, so I'll let you know my ranking. But again, let me know your thoughts down below. Let's jump into the top 10 Netflix original K-dramas, starting with number 10. The School Nurse Files. Wielding a light sword through the dark corners of a high school, a nurse with an unusual gift protects students from monsters only she can see. I was one of the few still to have reviewed this, which I find really weird because it is one of those series that I think if there was a wider audience for it, people would really enjoy it. It has unique storyline, very interesting monsters. The design of these creature, ghost, goblin things is more kind of a supernatural power entity that this girl with this weird power stick has to, almost like a lightsaber, like a multicolored lightsaber. I really enjoyed it for what it was. I do wish they had carried on with it because I think there was space to do more with it. When it came out, there weren't many people talking about it. I think had this had the marketing, I think it would have been much more popular. I really enjoyed this. This is why it's crept in there at number 10. There are a few honorable mentions that I could mention that I haven't made it into the number 10, but suffice to say, this is definitely one I enjoyed. Number 9, The Uncanny Encounter. Noodle shop employers by day and demon hunters by night. The counters use special abilities to chase down malevolent spirits that prey on the humans. This is one of those series where you get a character that is kind of thrust into a world, whether it's supernatural or superpowers. It's a fish out of water story, and then they want to be part of that story. And I really like the kind of X-Men-ish superhero vibe that you get with this, but with the supernatural powers. Each of the noodle shop employees have very quirky, different characteristics that I really appreciated. Often over-embellished or very over-the-top characters, but there was some heart to this which I liked, especially with the fish out of water character. And that's why this crept in at number 9. Number 7, Hellbound. And you might be thinking, oh no, this is just coming up, and Ruben really enjoyed this, but now he's ranking it at number 7. Like I said, really tough to rank series here. I really enjoyed Hellbound. The one issue I did have with it is that it strings you along, and the lore that you find out, I'm still trying to do non-spoilers because the full series review hasn't come out yet, but the lore that you find out, you don't find out enough. So you see what happens to the world, how it's infected because of these monsters killing people and taking their souls, but you don't ever know why. You just see the how. And so I thought that was somewhat frustrating. It's more about the human characteristics, about humans and how they react to these very crazy circumstances. There is an end a bit that you're gonna want to stay for in this series. That's why it's at number 7. Still really enjoyed it, really want to know what's going to happen next, but I was frustrated at the just dangling a piece of carrot that you kind of never really get. Number 6, My Name. When her father is murdered right in front of her eyes, a young woman abandons everything to join the criminal underworld and infiltrate the police force undercover, or to find and destroy the one who took her father from her. The reason why this is at number 6, because again, it was one that I wanted to place higher, is it's a story we've seen before. The Departed springs to mind, various version, the original, remake. It's up to you. Again, that story has been done a million times. However, the martial arts choreography with the sets and cinematography at night is some of the best you've ever seen. I would equate it to with the John Wick films at night. I loved the visceral nature of the fight scenes in this. It was just very entertaining, and then by the time you get to the end, I think you're very much emotionally engaged with your main character because they've really built and crafted that story. Very entertaining. If you haven't watched it yet, definitely put it on your list. Number 5, DP. Outside of the military base and dressed casually, these soldiers may look like any other civilian, but the Deserter Pursuit Unit is anything but. This is one I was late to, but I caught up to it, and I have to say, it's one of the few that I was very much emotionally engaged with. The only thing that took me out of it a little bit was the score. It was often a very comedic, light tone. The score, it said funny things were happening on screen when the atmosphere or what was happening was quite dark. I know it was an aesthetic choice, and sometimes it worked, but the other times it didn't quite work for me. However, that being said, it's a very brutal at times, and it's also very heart gut wrenching because you are fighting for these deserted pursuit characters. I love the arc that these protagonists go on, and I could definitely use more from this world. A very interesting, emotional, engaging, relevant story. Number 4. In a kingdom defeated by corruption and famine, a mysterious plague spreads to turn the infected into monsters. Man alive, when I first saw Kingdom come out, because we've had 2 seasons and a prequel movie, I was blown away by the mix of zombie genre. We've had zombies done to death, but this one takes like grand set pieces, amazing costume design, some interesting fight sequences, and then has a zombie ghoul threat in there, a plague that is like terrorizing people, and then you just add that into the kind of the politics of the world, and you end up with some of the best TV. Never mind, wherever it comes from, it's just some of the best and most interesting TV. I thought this would be my number 1, but such is the greatness of the next few, is that it's at number 4. 3. Squid Game. Hundreds of cash-strapped players accept a strange invitation to compete in children's games. Inside a tempting prize waits with deadly high stakes. A survival game that has a whopping 45.6 billion won prize at stake. If you've seen Battle Royale or Hunger Games, then you've seen kind of the main plot of this story. But what that does is then it takes that gambling premise and puts it in there with this storyline, and you get some very visceral moments when you think certain people are going to survive. And it also takes these games, kids' games, that then become very dark and dangerous. It's a series that managed to jump over to the zeitgeist of what everybody is watching. 142 million people watched it. It was number 1 in over 90 countries. Definitely a win for Netflix. I know there is a sector of people that think that this is not nearly as good as people said it is, and I thought this would be my number 1. I still my number 3 because I found it very much entertaining, and we just had news that Squid Game Season 2 has been greenlit. They'd be bonkers not to because of how popular it was. Number 2, Sweet Home. I decided it was time to die, and the world agreed with me. When you open your eyes, all you see are monsters. I loved the monster design in this, and the peril that was throughout. It's one of those, people are trapped in a building, they don't know how they're going to survive, because outside the world has demon and monsters. Without going in deeply into the story, if you haven't seen it yet, the creature design alone is worth watching this one for, but it's the intense peril from monsters and people within inside. So there is a story that's going on outside, but inside the building is where I think it gets really interesting. Looking at what people do in circumstances like this is great. Reminds me of Frank Darabont's The Mist. So now we're going to my number 1. And can you guess what it is? This is one that not a lot of people spoke about. In fact, I don't think there's many reviews for it. Move to Heaven. Upon his release from prison, an ex-convict becomes the guardian to his nephew with autism spectrum disorder, thinking it'll be an easy ride. But as soon as he works alongside him in a family's trauma cleaning business, he realizes there is more to this job and more to the idea of family than he first thought. This series took my wife and I by surprise, and unashamedly, we shed a few tears in most of the episodes. This has the most emotional engagement from us ever compared to any South Korean series, or any series really. It is gut-wrenching at a deep level, and maybe it resonates with us because we do have a family member that is on the autism spectrum, so we see a lot of that. But it's just the way they show how family can come together, broken family, from a very messed up start situation to what they end up doing. And so you end up going on a broken family who help other people in their worst moments, where family members have died, and they end up cleaning these rooms, and it's just gross and nasty. And then this cleaning company with this autism spectrum young man and the uncle end up helping those families, and so it becomes this really engaging, thoughtful, hard to watch series that I loved. But the more I think about it, the more sad I get. It's just emotionally gut punching, and that's why it's my number 1. I thought it was incredible storytelling, very well acted, and definitely could stand to see more. Let me know in your comments below, which is your number 1? Which do you think should be the number 1? Have you heard of Move to Heaven? I would love more people to watch this. Again, chat to me in the comments. Thanks so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed something different. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long on Tuesday.